Whatcom County Football Podcast. It is episode 40, and it's a special one. It's going to be the first of what is a new format for the Whatcom County Football Podcast. I am your host, Ryland Spencer from Cascadia Preps. Along with me is Tyler Anderson from Whatcom Preps. And we have a special guest today. Santa Claus is straight in from Mount Baker High School. It is actually Mount Baker's all-time winningest head coach, Mr. Ron Lepper. Coach, how are we doing?
Doing great. It's great to see you guys and hear your voice. This is awesome.
Yeah, you appear as though, I don't want to sound rude, but you haven't seen scissors in a long time, huh, Coach?
I have not. I don't know. It just kind of happened in mid-April, and I've kind of gone with it. My wife wants me to style my hair, but I'm pretty good at myself, so I'm just letting it go. I'll just do it myself. Sometimes I do put a little product in there, though.
Yeah, it looks like it. It looks as though either you put a little product in today or you stuck your tongue in an electrical socket. I'm not sure which one, but along with us, Tyler Anderson. Tyler, how we doing, buddy?
Yeah, doing really good, and it's good to be talking football on a Friday night. Actually, well, we're recording this on Friday night, but it's good to see Coach Lepp on a Friday night. Usually see him on quite a few Friday nights.
Yeah, and look, Tyler's even got the professional sign in the background and everything. Tyler, which one can you point to? Which one Mount Baker would be there?
Yeah, right there, the red.
Right there, the red one.
That's right.
Yeah, no, that sign is probably the most professional thing we got going on with the podcast. But,
hey.
Well, hey, Coach, thank you for joining us. We've got some questions here, just, nothing too crazy. And then what we're going to do at the end is what we call a lightning round. And essentially, I'm going to throw 5 names at you, and you're just going to kind of have to give me a quick 10-second answer for each name. All right?
Perfect.
Well, first off, though, obviously you've been at Mount Baker now for quite a while. Your first year as head coach was 1996. But I kind of got prepped a little bit, and I was told that on your way to your first game, something happened with the bus. What was the story behind that?
The bus broke down. It was, we're on our way to Lakewood. First game as a head coach. We're going, and I'm pretty jacked up, obviously, and we're going down there in the bus. It quits running about 10 miles outside of Lakewood High School. So, it's a mad scramble. Somehow, it's before cell phones and stuff. So somehow we get a hold of Lakewood. They send a bus to pick us up. We get there. We're late. We're scrambling. And it's probably the best thing in the world, because if we had a regular pregame, I would have been probably nervous as hell. I probably would have ate some sophomore's head, and just went crazy. But, as it turned out, we didn't have time. We had to get dressed, get on the field, get warmed up, and get right into action. So I think in the big scheme of things, it was a blessing that happened. But when it first happened, my blood pressure went up a little bit.
If you had to give me your best Tyler Anderson story, do you have one?
Tyler Anderson story. Think about Tyler. Tyler was, kind of a quiet kid in high school, and he was a kicker. So, how head coaches feel about kickers. When they make them, they're the best thing in the world. When they're not, they are weirdos. So, Tyler was just a good kid. He showed up. His dad worked for the school district, got to know his dad over the years, musician and stuff. And Tyler had a lot of interest. And then, I think for me, the best story for Tyler is probably not when he played, but when he first came out as a reporter. And he was just so respectful and like a sponge. He just wanted to do a really good job and learn. And, I can't imagine, a Friday night now if he's not around. When he's not there, I'm kind of upset when he's at someone else's game, and I get he's got to be, he's got to be equitable. But, what he's put into his Whatcom Preps and what he's put into this county for the youth of this county is immeasurable. I just, it's unbelievable, and I love it. And I remember when he asked me for game film, I gave him all game film. We put it all the VHS, on a DVD. Kurt Cramey was pretty happy about that. I was the last guy in our league to go to DVDs, and I was always the video, the cassette tape or the whatever, the videotape, and they were just crazy about it. But no, Tyler's just been great.
You're talking about.
Yes.
Remember the Titans right there.
Yeah, I've got boxes of those.
And Tyler's got boxes of all kinds of different stuff. Tyler, when you think of when you were back at Mount Baker, when you think of Coach Lepper, what's the kind of the first thing that comes to your mind?
Well, the first thing that pops into my mind is the first day I met him. It was his first year as an assistant coach. we were all standing in line in summer for 2 days to get our football pads. And I was a sophomore, and he looked me up and down, and I thought he was Hulk Hogan. I swear, I looked at him, and I loved Coach Preston, and he was very soft spoken, and he brings in his mentor, his or not his mentor, but his guy, Coach Lepper, and I was just like, holy cow, this guy's loud. He's got the red Fu Manchu, and I just wanted to, do whatever I could for him. And we went in to get shoulder pads, and he looked me up and down, and he goes, "What position do you play?" And I said, "I'm a kicker." And he goes to the very end and grabs like the smallest pads there were, and he said, "Put these on. Can you touch your hands above your head?" And as I started doing it, he goes, "You don't need to. You're a kicker." And I just thought it was great. Yeah, I just always wanted to, you didn't want to screw up, and you learned really fast that when he got on you, it's because he liked you. And he knew how to get the most out of his athletes. And he did it in a way that you respected him so much that you wanted to do everything you could to make him happy and prove yourself to him. And because he wanted you to work hard. That's all he wants, is just for you to do your best and work hard. And that's what we all did. And he's led a very successful program ever since.
Coach, I know you also coached your son at one point. Was it hard to kind of be coach and not dad, and be dad and not coach at times?
I say it was, but my family says different. So all perspective, but I tried really hard not to take stuff home, because he was pretty self-conscious about it himself. So he beat himself up pretty good at times when he didn't perform very well, and played it off pretty well when he did well. But I know when I got into coaching early on, I coached at Simon Fraser after I was played there, and I was talking with my future wife at the time, because we figured we're going to be together for a while. And I said, listen, we got to make a choice. Either you're going to stay in the college game or the high school game. And the college game was, moving around a lot. High school, maybe not as much money, but you're going to be stable. And I said, we chose high school. I said, the other part of it too is, wherever we're at, I want our kids to be at the school I'm teaching at. And so overall it was a good experience. It was tough at times. I'm pretty sure that I had him play in a game when he had a concussion. It happened right before halftime against Ferndale his junior year. But, the trainer comes out and she's going, he wants to look at him. I said, it's okay. He's my kid. She goes, well, I know he's on your team. I go, no, this is my kid. This is my son. I got it. And so my wife wasn't very happy, after we talked about the game. But overall, I'm glad I got the opportunity to coach him, and then all three of my daughters at one time also.
What do you got, Tyler?
Well, yeah, speaking about coaching your daughters, you're coaching all these different sports. You're the head varsity wrestling coach for the boys wrestling. You've been the head fast pitch coach for a while. I mean, your first year at Baker, you were the head baseball coach, for crying out loud. So you've done all these different things. Now you're the athletic director too. What kind of responsibilities does that take, and how is it now when there's nothing going on? Is your body just kind of go, wow, just kind of shut down a little bit?
Yeah, when I found out we weren't going to do football on a regular schedule, I kind of unplugged for the first time in probably 30 years. I mean, I actually kind of fell off the radar, turned my cell phone off for a few days and stuff, and it was strange. But right now, we're getting ready for what we can do come January. So we're starting to talk as ADs about schedules. That's kind of up, it's kind of up in the air right now. Biggest thing for me, I think, is, as I get more comfortable in this position, I want to really be, I really want to lead our school into a certain way. And I don't want everybody to be like me. That's not going to be, that can't happen. But the expectations can be the same. I want our kids, no matter who we are, where we're playing, I want people to walk away knowing that we gave a great effort, that they got their money's worth to come watch us play. And we're going to be classy. We're going to handle things the right way. And so that's what I'm really trying to strive for as a program at Mount Baker.
Coach, as far as like schedules and stuff go, do you know, I mean, obviously we talk mostly football on this show. Do you know kind of what the schedule is going to look like? Not so much who you're going to play, but kind of like how many games, anything like that?
Yeah, right now, the direction we're getting from the WIA is that all the seasons are going to be 70%. So instead of 10 football games, we're going to play 7. The postseason is going to be shortened, obviously, and it looks like it's probably going to be a regional format instead of a true state championship. There'll be some type of a regional tournament for most sports. I know that the WIA is going to bring some more information out on Wednesday of next week as some of the schools are trying to get kids back into school. I know we're going to be starting to have some practices next week in our sports like we would summertime. It's not going to be full gear yet and stuff like that in smaller groups, but we're at the stage now where we're going to be able to start to bring back some athletes and do some things. And so, basketball will be 14 games, your 20 games, sports will be 14 games. The one thing we're lucky about in our conference, and this is what we're going to talk about next week, is that we have a 16-team conference because Oak Harbor and Mount Vernon joined our league this year. So we'll probably be able to take care of ourselves. But it's tough because, you did all that work last year trying to, with the new cycle coming in to get all these games. Like tonight, we're supposed to play in Whatcom, and we were excited about that. So we're not sure what that's going to look like yet, but I think it's probably going to be a lot of games within our own conference.
So when you talk, so 7 games, that's going to leave you with what, just a couple of weeks of potential postseason play?
Yeah, probably 2 or 3 weeks. That's why, and people are concerned about travel and stuff. I mean, we got all the stuff we got to take into consideration. We're trying to, the WIA is in a tough situation that, probably going to lose some money, from bringing in, because we don't know what it's going to look like for fans and stuff. So we're probably looking at probably smaller, venues, more like high school type venues instead of maybe the big places. But bottom line is, I know how we feel here at Mount Baker, and I'm pretty sure it's everywhere else, is we just want to play. We just want our kids an opportunity to get out and compete for, if it's 5 games, 7 games, 8 games, whatever. We just want to give those kids a chance to go out and compete. And if we have a chance for some kind of culminating activity at the end of the season, that would be awesome also.
2013, you guys were the state runner-up. Just a couple kind of questions with that team. One, like what do you kind of remember about that team? But also, what do you remember about the state championship game? Obviously, lost, but what do you remember about like being in the Tacoma Dome and being a part of everything?
About the game itself, I was a little upset just because, I figure it's a state tournament. We should have our regular time to warm up. We had a shortened time. You're trying to warm up on the sidelines or on the side, on the concrete and stuff. And so we just felt rushed, and that I thought that was a little unfortunate, but I was really proud of how our kids battled. Freeman had some really talented, people on that team, so, we would like to perform better, but, to be able to get to the championship game was pretty awesome. That group of guys, I think, goes back to junior high. If they wouldn't have had a C team in junior high, probably 5 or 6 of those kids that started for us would have been cut, and they would have probably not played football. And they came out of nowhere their senior year. Like I go back and look at those names and I'm like, and I know when you got Tyler was doing the all decade team and stuff, and I know we got there, but we probably had some more talented teams, but we just found a way to get things done that year. Kids made plays when we had to make plays. I remember our tight end and defensive end, 2 guys that went back to the FFA National Convention. So Travis Lindsay, who was, he did a lot of cool things for us his senior year, but we ended up playing him at tight end, and he had the game against Meridian that gave us the championship. I mean, it's this huge play. I mean, it was it should never have happened, and it did. And, he got all the way down like the 3-yard line, and we ended up scoring the winning touchdown that way. And just guys like that, Joey Walton, breaking up the pass in overtime to get us that game. That group of guys just really came together that year. And it reminded me of the 98 team a little bit that nobody really expected from us. And, we won, and we ended up being an undefeated season. And people said, well, it said, hey, man, no one said we had to win by 40. We just found ways to win. Those kids just competed. And so I think that 2013 team was just one of the result of guys just, in the right place at the right time and just played for each other. And we had a really fun season.
Tyler, what do you remember about that team?
The 2013 team, he's right. It's so many good pieces that work together. And, coach for the first time had a 3rd-year starter at quarterback, which is a huge bonus because by the time it's a quarterback's a senior and he's been starting for 2 years, he knows the offense so well. That worked really well. And there's always something to it when your starting quarterback is a starting linebacker on defense. There's something about that kind of makes you really pull for that teammate. He's a tough guy. He's out there getting his nose dirty, and then he goes around and plays quarterback. Kind of reminds me of David Galbraith back in the day, coach, when you had that. It's the same feeling. Everybody rallies around that kind of player. And it was just a special team. You had tough running inside, you had tough running outside, you had key plays in the passing game. You had an all-state kicker, which was huge in the semifinals, and so yeah, it was just a great team. But going back, you mentioned the '98 team. Everyone talks about that Fog Bowl. It was against Meridian. Meridian was loaded. It was such a huge game. I was there. I was standing on the track. But you kind of have a funny story about that game, I believe, as well. And you came up with a little VHS tape at the end.
Yeah. So that game was so Ryland, that game was amazing. The fog came in. We could not see across the field.
Yeah.
And it comes down late, and we're at Meridian, and we take the lead. And our tight end got hurt that game, so we had to move an offensive guard to tight end. He catches the winning touchdown pass, Travis Galbraith, from Andy Grimes. And so anyway, Meridian's driving, and they're getting ready to kick a field goal. And we stop and we get the ball back, and of course we get called for 3 penalties in 3 plays. And it was like, come on, really? And so anyway, they got the ball back, had a chance. They kicked it. We couldn't tell if it went in or not until the officials come running out of the fog. We didn't see them until about the 20-yard line, and they're going like this, like no good, no good. But the thing about that game was KVOS Channel 12 in Bellingham used to do cover sports and stuff, which was great. They do a roll up and stuff, and then Jeff Weiner, he would always have predictions. He predicted Meridian to beat us, and so when I found that out, he called me and I said, "Hey, I heard you picked against us and we won." So he went back and made a videotape to Green Day and brought it out and gave it to the team. Gave us to the team a video. VHS tape of the highlights of that game to a Green Day song, and the best time of our lives. It was awesome. It was great. I still got that too.
You coached all 4 Schleimer brothers. Were all 4 running backs?
Yes, all 4 running backs. The oldest one graduated before I got there. He was a lineman, I believe, right,
yep.
Tyler?
Yeah, John. Yep.
John, and so Jed. Jim, Jake, and then Joe, Jim, Jake, and Jed.
Right.
So they're all running backs. All played linebacker for us, and all were just pretty amazing. Pretty amazing.
All right, Coach. Well, I got a question for you here. All right.
Okay.
It's 4th and 1. It doesn't even matter. You're at the goal line. All right. It's state championship game. You got to pick one of them to carry the ball. Which one are you giving it to? And I don't want no political answer here.
I know. I might, if it came down to one play like that, I might go with Joe Schleimer. And the reason is the play we're going to run. If you ask the players what play we're going to run there, it's going to be 44 Ram, right, Tyler? It's going to be 44 Ram.
Yep.
And Tyler has mentioned this play to me multiple times.
Yeah, and the thing about Joe when he ran that play is that it's basically the Washington counter trade they ran with Riggins, and we adapted that to the wing T, and it's meant to go off tackle. But Joe was great when he knew the situation. If the hole was at the center, he'd turn up and go to the center. If it was wide with the pulling lineman, he'd go with the pulling lineman, and so. I don't know if he ever got stopped on a short yardage when we ran Ram because he just knew as soon as he saw the hole where it needed to be and he could get the yardage. He didn't care about the big gain, but if there's enough to get a first down or get a touchdown, he'd find that hole and get in there.
He needed 1 yard. He was getting in the end zone.
He was getting 1 yard. I mean, now the other 3 are going to be a little upset about that, but I probably have to go with that.
Well, hopefully we find out later that there was like a big argument at Thanksgiving. Those guys really let us have it for even asking the question. But
yeah, exactly.
Tyler, what else you got over there? I know you got all kinds of crazy stuff.
Well, yeah. I mean, speaking of running backs, and I'm just going to tell you right now, you've had 15 different running backs run for 1,000 yards in a season. 9 of them have done it twice. Can you name the 15?
Okay, here we go. Ready? All right.
All
right. So I'm gonna all 4 Schleimers.
Right.
Schwinden.
Yep.
Ingholm.
Yep.
Short.
Liam Short. Yep.
Prince.
Yep.
See, going back. Galbraith. Pete.
Yep. Yep.
Flannery.
Yep. There's only 5 left.
I know there's only 5 left. Give me a second here. Jefferson.
Yep.
Lee.
Yep.
That's 12.
Yeah.
No clues. Don't give him anything.
Let's see. I'm trying to go through. Is this was as a head coach?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Justin Brown.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
You're gonna kick yourself for these next two.
Am I?
Oh yeah.
I'm just trying to think through the years there. Do I get points if I say a wrong one?
I think I know. Yeah. Go ahead.
I got a guy that I think was, but I'm not sure. Garrett Graham.
Yeah, he was like at 980 something.
Yeah, I know he was close.
Yeah.
Oh man. Slimer. I don't know who he got there.
Michael Rathjen.
Right. Oh my gosh, yes, Michael Rathjen.
And he was fantastic, and maybe one of your best, Levi Wigg.
Oh, but how the hell did I know the Levi Wigg? Oh my gosh, I'm a freaking idiot. Oh
well,
my god.
No, that's the thing. You've coached so many of these guys that it's just crazy how.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Michael and Levi. I apologize. I should know better than that. God dang it, I'm getting old.
Don't worry, Coach. If you go by Tyler's theory, nobody's listening anyway.
Yeah, right.
No, I'm gonna catch some flack for that one.
I didn't mean to put you in that situation.
No, I mean, Levi. I mean, obviously, when he was done, he was the career leader in rushing, and stuff. Right. That's unexcusable. So. And
Michael was something else.
Michael was like.
He was shot out of a cannon, man.
Great story about Michael. We're playing Meridian their senior year, and Meridian's got a really good running back, and I can't think of his name right now, but he's supposed to be the fastest guy in our league.
Jesse Alderson.
And Michael's going out to tackle, on a play there. Michael runs for about 4 or 5 yards and then kind of bumps out of bounds. And I go, Michael, he goes, everybody said he's faster than me. He's not, Coach. he let him get an extra 4 yards just to say, he's not faster than me.
Just to see if he was, that's great.
Exactly.
Coach, you spent 1 year at Ferndale under Vic Randall. What do you remember about not only him, but what did you pick up from coaching with him? Repetition, doing it right. I mean, this is how we're going to do it. That was really important there. I mean, we had a really good team. We went to the semifinals that year. Had some studs up front. We had Burkhalter and Trevor Howard and some other guys that again, that was a long time ago, but we had Lance Dawson was a running back, Scott Campbell was the quarterback there. We had some pretty good dudes, but it was just how Vic handled the business, learning that. And I learned a lot. I mean, we had to go scout back then, cause I was coaching the freshman team, but Friday night we'd go out and scout, and you couldn't use videotape. So you were doing it by hand. And, I remember watching, Cedar Rowley ran the wing tee and getting on things, working that out. And it made me a better coach having to go out and do that and learning from Vic. I really appreciate my time there. That was just and it's what gave me the idea for the wing tee, because when I took over, we ran the I, and we had Joe Schleimer and Jacob Prince, our running backs, and we in the I you feed your tail back, and so every time we get Jacob in the game, he got big yards, and I'm trying to think what can we do to get both guys on the field at the same time, and we switched to the wing tee their senior year, and we've run the wing tee every year except one. Tyler, what year did we not run the wing tee?
2000 you ran the spread. And,
we did. That is correct. 2000 we ran the spread, but we run the wing tee since. And before that.
And that was just personnel. That's all that was. And
exactly what it was. And it was personnel.
Yeah.
Have you ever thought of changing the offense any time in the last? I mean, look, everybody likes the spread and it's fancy and parents love it because then you actually have a quarterback throw for a lot of yards and everything. Has there been any thought recently?
Not really, because we just don't seem to have the guys to really do that. I think we probably could force ourselves, but we've got we've just been fortunate to have really good running backs like Levi Wigg and Michael Rathjen. Right. Gonna get them some prep now. I can't believe I missed that, but we've also evolved our wing tee that we can do some of the passing stuff. We don't do shotgun very often. That's just, we just don't. We did that in 2000 and I don't know, I think I want to say 2009, 2010. We kind of ran the, gun wing with no tight ends because we didn't have really strong tight ends. That it wasn't a very good experience. So we got out of that. But, I just think that, we try to evolve our wing T to be more passing. And actually, I like to throw the ball. I mean, I really do like to throw the ball. But, like they say, only one thing good happens out of throwing the ball. And so, I think I've become a better coach, with our staff and I working together and being more aggressive that way, and throwing the ball and incorporating it within our offense. And we were just talking about this the other day that, also we make a little change here, a little change there, and it ends up being, kind of big for us. That's what you got to keep doing.
Evolving is what you're saying.
Yeah.
I remember I sat in on a Sid Otten one time was speaking at a clinic, and somebody actually asked him, hey, in all your years of the wing T, have you ever, like, what have you had to do to change things? And has it ever kind of gone back to the old stuff? And he talked about how, teams started following the guards real heavy. And so what they started doing was pulling one guard one way, one guard the other way. And then they ran the ball directly up the middle. And he's like, well, then they started staying right in the middle. And next, we were able to get back outside and do everything we wanted. And so he said, it's kind of playing mind games with them at times. Is that like, you kind of feel that chess match when you get going sometimes?
Oh, definitely. I mean, definitely when in our league, especially when we had to start playing each other twice, you got Bob Ames and Dan Kamick, and Rob Meyer when he was at Nooksack, but, Dan's such a defensive minded guy. And same with Bob. And I remember one of the biggest compliments I got was from Bob, when he made the comment that it's just, we're not just running the Delaware wing T anymore. And it made it tougher to defend. And, and we had to do that because, I was kind of stubborn, and thinking, we'd want to run a play and it wouldn't work. And I'd say, God dang it, we can run this play. And I'd keep running it and it wouldn't work, and I'm like, we're going to run it so it works. Now, if something's not working, we'll go to something else. Like teams will follow, like when we had Jed Schleimer, there are teams that just keyed on where Jed did. So then I remember we had a couple big plays against teams that we'd put Jed out in motion and guys would fly that way and we went the other way and, and we had huge plays. I mean, it was when we played Simon Burkett his junior year, they were really good. And we did a thing where we motioned him out and this guy went with him. And all of a sudden TJ Bass is wide open, because they thought that it was going to go to Jed. And so everybody just jumped on that and stuff, a couple of pass plays. And we ran the same play 3 times in the same game. The third time was a big situation. And my coach is going, don't you think they're going to figure that out? I said, well, they're still going with Jed. So, but yeah, it's a huge chess match. My thing about like with Dan, I'd always say that, here's what I think he's going to do. And he always do something different. And it always took us a half to figure it out and then try to get after it a little bit.
I know your band director retired this year after a long time. I personally believe in the band. I think that a good band is worth some points, and I've seen it before at games where in the second half, one team gets rolling and the band gets playing. Do you think the band has effect on games or can have an effect on games?
Yeah, what I thought for our band for early on is how they play the national anthem. If they're on the national anthem, it gets our guys going, and that's a big thing just because it sounds really good and the band is right behind us on our sideline. So when our band starting to do that, because during the game you kind of get caught in, and everything else, but you're sitting there and look at the flag and the band sounds good and you just see guys start on the sideline or sitting, all of a sudden they start moving. You can just say, yeah, we're kind of getting into it. It's all part of that atmosphere, the fans, the band, the kids. That's one thing I think that's missing in a lot of high school situations is with all the social media, a lot of kids don't come out as much as they used to because they can get updates on their, and do something else they probably shouldn't be doing on a Friday night instead of coming to a goddamn football game. But that atmosphere is huge. Like Tyler go back. There was times, back in the late '90s, we're playing Meridian, and the pack is packed, and it's 3 or 4 deep around the the track. I mean, it was just a huge event, and so that all plays into that, and I love it when you have that kind of atmosphere.
Last year I went to, I don't know, like 54, 56 games, somewhere in that range. And I went to every level of play, right? I saw some 8-man football. I saw 4A. And I saw like huge crowds, and then I saw small like backwoods stuff. I think the best atmosphere I saw last year was at Onalaska, and it was Onalaska versus Napa Vine, who not only are they rivals, but it was like number 1 versus number 2 in the state. and they are right down the street from each other. So Napa brought a ton of people. So the stands were full. They were like 3 or 4 deep on the track. Then you looked over onto the baseball field, and there was a bunch of kids playing, tag over there. And I walked up, and I just remember looking around thinking to myself, like, this is high school football, baby. Yeah. Like, this is what it's all about right here. And the bands were, it was awesome. I think there's something to be said about, like, small town, back in the woods, when you get everybody there, it's unbeatable. I just think it is.
Yeah. Well, I always come out with the lineman before a game. So I always come out late, and I'm walking to our practice field to get onto the main field, and there's little kids playing, football against, each other. And the next thing you know, they got kids from the other school playing each other. That's part of the deal, right? I mean, the kids are playing, and they'll see a kid by, and there's like, oh, and they look up and they know the number, because we put on a youth camp, right? And a couple years ago, we had a kid, a lineman, and we had a nickname called Biscuit, and so. And all of a sudden, I remember walking out, and two of the kids, little kids, hey, there's Biscuit right there. There goes Biscuit, and so, But you're right. That connection is huge, and it's a social event. That's where people get out and be able to communicate, because Deming doesn't have really a big town. I mean, there's no really central town. We got a lot of communities in our area, and so Friday night at a football game is a huge social time as well as it is, a football game, and that's why we try to take pride in putting on a good show for our fans.
Tyler, what do you got?
Yeah, Coach. When you came to Mount Baker, it was Doug Preston that brought you in. He was the head coach for a year before you came in. I've been coached by about a dozen different coaches over my, kindergarten up through, 12th grade. And he's my personal favorite all-time coach that I've ever had. What are just some of the things about him that you admire, and just what makes him such a great coach?
Doug, I'll say Doug, but Coach Preston, Coach P, he's, we're opposites. That's kind of why I think we worked really well together, because, he's really a psychological and get in, and calming effect and stuff like that, where, at that time I was like straightforward, charge, and we're going to just get after it. And, but, just learning from him, his preparation, I remember in college, it was great because we'd be on the road. And always on the road, and we have a lineman meeting, on the night before, and he'd come in and he'd go, okay, guys, what play do you guys want to run first play tomorrow? And ask us that, and he'd give us a chance to do that. But his play sheet taught about stuff, and again, going back to like Coach Randall, and going back to my high school coach and stuff, it was about repetition. We're not going to try to do 8,000 different things. We got to be good at what we can do, and then we can maybe make some little changes here and there. But you better have something you can hang your hat on, right. And Doug had a lot of experience. I mean, Coach P was, he'd been around and played, coached with Don James at University of Washington and stuff, right. And so learned a lot of things, and he brought that to us, and he's a really good communicator.
He, oh man, well, I forgot what I was going to say, but yeah.
Levi Wig, and Michael.
Yeah, thank you, Coach. That's what I meant. Yeah, he was just. There was just something about him that I think what I loved about him is that he looked at me and he didn't care that I was 5'4", 120 pounds. He's like, if you can kick a ball through the uprights, I'm going to give you a chance. And so, and that's a real 5'4", 120. It's not a Meridian 5'4", 120. Yeah. So, but yeah, he was great.
Yeah. I know when, for me too, I in college, I was fortunate to play for him for a couple of years and start and stuff. And I wasn't the biggest guy, but I knew what I was supposed to do, and I worked my butt off. And, just because you might be 6'6" and 260, you might not, be smart enough to know everything, and so you're going to cost the team at times. So if you're the best guy, you're the best guy, and it didn't matter what your physical package was. That's important, but, that other stuff can be played into it also.
I remember what I was going to say, Coach. At high school, Ron Lepper on the offensive line, defensive line, who's a guy that you've coached that you said, wow, that reminds me of me when I played?
I'd like to say Alec Postlewaite, but he was way better than me.
That was the first name. I was thinking Alec Postlewaite or Brent Moa maybe.
Yeah, Brent Moa probably more so, but that's why both those guys had the same number I did in college, or in high school. 79. I gave them the same number I wore because, those are probably two really good comparisons. Yeah. They're those two guys right there.
Nice.
Tyler mentioned the Meridian roster. At what point? So when you get to Mount Baker, Bob Ames is well into, what, 20 years by that point, Tyler, or 15 years at least?
Yeah, 20 on the dot when Coach got there as an assistant, yeah.
Okay, so when you get there, how long did it take for you to realize that he's a different dude?
Probably about 2-3 hours. Talking to him. Yeah, it was strange. I'm like, looking, you're going to be crazy. So a funny story about that. We're at a coaches meeting after an all league meeting. And then we had kind of a meeting after the meeting. And we're sitting there, and Pete Caligas was coaching at Meridian at that time. And we're talking, and, and Coach James is doing his thing. And I just called him out in front of everybody. And Caligas just starts shouting. He goes, finally, somebody he'll say, just be honest. And I go, Bob, you're full of baloney, man. I probably didn't use that word, but that's like, dude, who are you trying to fool here? You're a hell of a coach. You got stud players. There's no way that Corzine, or Ald are freaking 5'9", 195 pounds. I mean, they are 6'4", 245 beast. Who are you fooling? So it probably took, a little, a couple of weeks after you're seeing stuff, and you start seeing them on film when you're scouting and stuff. It's like, dude, this is not what is this? It's like it was crazy. I'd never seen a coach do that before.
Yeah, and you know what? There's a couple here or there that I question heights and weights, but nobody even close to what Coach Ames had going on.
No.
I mean, not even close. There's guys that, like I've told the story before, I think on the podcast, Tyler, where when I was in high school, I was listed at like 6'4", like 310. I was like 5'11", 260.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And I remember what it was for me is my mom had gotten the program, and she looked at the program and she was like, wow, is that right? And then, a couple of days later after film on Saturday and, maybe a Seahawks game on Sunday or something, my mom had asked me, and she's like, is that right? And I was like, what are you talking about? She's like, it's right here. She went and she got the roster and she showed me, and I was just like, what? And I went into the coach, and it was, I believe it was Coach Cale Pyland, who spent a lot of time down at Union High School, was very successful down there, won a state championship in 2004 with Evergreen, I believe it was, down in Vancouver. And it was either him or it was Mike Thomas. I can't remember which one, but it was one of them. And they just said, like, well, it is what it is.
Yeah.
It is what it is. And it's like, yeah, but I don't think you fool too many people when your center walks out there and he's not even close.
No. So my thing with rosters, I hate going like 0s and 5s. So I always like it. Instead of 165, I'll say 167. I'm 160. I'll tell, okay, you're 163. I try. If you look at our roster, very rarely will you see a 0 or a 5 at the end. There's a lot. There's a lot of crooked numbers there.
Yeah, I remember looking. I think it was just last year. I think Chris Van Loo was the only one that had a 0 at the end. Yeah. And I always thought that was just the wrestling coach in you. They have the weight classes, and it's like it's not round. Well, I mean, it's a little bit more nowadays. But back in the day, 112, 119, 125, whatever. And so I just figured you're just putting them on the scale and writing it down exactly what it is. But
I just think it looks cool in the program. Okay, he's 183. Yeah. Okay, instead of
I agree.
269. There we go. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Just put it wherever it is.
Coach, if you were forced to pick one sport to coach, if you had to give up the other two, which one do you think it would be?
Football.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I love my girls in softball, and I love my guys in wrestling, but it's the challenge of trying to get 11 guys to do the right thing on a consistent basis. I get asked that a lot, and so during the year, when it's football season, I just do football, nothing else. When it's wrestling season, I just do wrestling, nothing else. And in the spring, it's just softball, nothing else. But if I had to give it up, there's just something about a Friday night. Trying to get, like I said, 11 guys to do the right thing. Looking at your teammates in the huddle. That's the thing I miss the most about playing football myself, is being in the huddle when a key situation's up. You just look at each other like, we got this. Like, we're going to get this done. That's what I miss. And I love the other sports. Don't get me wrong. I mean, it's hard to do that, but it would be football.
I think as a player, for me, it would be wrestling, because I love it's me versus you, and it's we go until the clock runs out, or I put you on your back because you're not putting me on my back. As a coach, I would agree with you. I loved coaching football. I only coached wrestling for probably a season or two, and I think it was because I didn't have nearly as much fun. You know what I mean? Wrestling, it's a great sport, and I think it's badly underrated in high school as far as great sports go. But as a coach, man, coaching football is it's something else, man. It really truly is. Tyler, what do you say lightning round real quick, or do you got something?
No, you go for it. Hopefully coach is ready.
All right, coach, we're going to go lightning.
Michael Raftchen, Levi Wig.
We're going to go lightning round here, and what we're going to do is I'm going to ask coach, I'm going to do it. It's going to be one at a time. It's going to be 5 names. And what I want is I want a 5 to 10 second answer just straight off the top of his head about what he thinks of that person or what he remembers of that person. You know, and it might not even necessarily be a person. It could be a thing. But kind of what comes to mind, as quick answer as you can get. All right.
Okay.
All right, here we go. First person, TJ Bass.
Freaking stud. You know, also just a commitment to try to get the job done.
Pete Galbraith.
Wrecking ball. Just, you know, both sides of the ball. He was a force to be dealt with.
Dan Kamink.
Oh, nightmares. I mean, trying to compete against him. And I love the guy dearly.
Bob Ames.
Wily old veteran, baby. You know, wily old veteran. You like he's talking to you, and you're checking your pockets to make sure you still got everything you need.
Yeah.
Last one, Tom Horsman.
Tom Horsman, my best friend right now. I mean, my best friend. You know, just from he's my best friend.
Well, I'll tell you what, Coach. Let's talk about him a little bit more. Tell me, what do you want to go, Tyler? Do you want to go like best story? Do you want to go? What do you want? We got to talk more about Coach Tom Horsman.
The cool thing is that Coach's first year there, Tom was a senior in high school, and so he got to coach him, and then a few years later, he got to bring him in as a coach. So maybe some stories about him as a player.
You might edit this. That's fine. But this is I'll see how this story goes.
I think I know the story you're going to tell.
So yeah, so it's the second or third day of two-a-days, and Tom's our starting quarterback, and we're getting ready for practice, and I go to use the restroom in the locker room, and he's there, and he's not very happy with me because he loved Coach Preston, and we're opposite. So, you know, I come across as a hard ass, and, you know, I'm loud, I'm young, here we go. And we're sitting there, and he's in the urinal next to me. And, you know, he's just kind of, and he's mad at me because I'm on him because, you know, he's on time, but he's not early for practice. And my expectation is my time is 15 minutes early, right? So to be on time. And anyway, he's just looking there, and I said, make sure you're at practice on time tomorrow, whatever. And he's not saying where, you can just tell he's mad. And then as I'm finishing up, and I look over and I said, and by the way, if you're gonna chew that stuff, make sure you get it out of your mouth before you come to school. And so, and I tell that because then he realized I wasn't, you know, I cared about the kid. Like I was gonna, you know, I was hard, but there was something there. But that was that story there. And then, you know, just you know, watching him battle back after a horrific accident in the woods, you know, where he broke his pelvis and stuff, and he was supposed to coach that year, and going to see him in the hospital and pins in his, you know, that was really tough to see him come back and go into education, become a teacher, and be part of our staff. That was, you know, it was pretty special. And then, you know, just the bond we've had, you know, to go from a player to a coach with us, to that relationship, and we're coaching peers. But we saw that relationship, you know, because we're older, right? I mean, it's still there, and we value each other's opinions, and we're honest with each other. Sometimes it's not nice to hear what we got to say, but we're honest with each other.
All right, Coach. Tyler, do you have any more questions? I got one more.
Well, there's one that always I keep thinking of all these Mount Baker games that I've been to or I've watched film of, and one of the coolest ones is you talked about playing Simon Burkett his junior year. There was a game at Meridian that year. It was against, you know, the Trojans and Simon Burkett, where you picked him off 4 times, 3 by the same kid. They kept trying to pick on him, and he was about 5'5". And it just wasn't working. Tell us about that.
Well, it was great because it was William Pelot.
Yeah.
And you know, he's about as big as you were, right? Yep. And stuff.
Yeah.
And I think they'd kind of torched him in the game before that,
right,
a little bit. Even though we were able to still win the game, but they kind of went after him, and it was just one of those things where you see this is what's great about high school sports, right? I mean, here's a guy who's 5'5", 5'6", and stuff, but, you know, hard worker, did what we asked him to do, the best guy we had at that time to play a position, and he had the game of his life against a guy who was a pretty dang good quarterback, you know, and just to see him just feel good about himself, you know, and like, wow, you know, that's something you'll never forget, that he got 3 picks in a game. I mean, that was, you know, those kind of things, those are the things that for me make coaching so rewarding is, you know, when kids, you give them the, you know, they come in, they get their chance, you know, and when they're able to compete and do something like that, you know, those kind of memories they'll keep and know that the hard work paid off for them. You know, it might not be right away, and those are always kind of the best ones. It's not, you don't walk in being a stud all of a sudden, you know, I mean, some guys we've had walk in, they're just studs.
Yeah.
But guys to work, and then all of a sudden, you know, they get something like a moment like that, and then to see the teammates around them embrace that and be so happy for him. That's, you know, that's why we need to be playing freaking sports right now.
Yeah, that's right.
Hey, I won't argue with you there. It's Friday night, and instead of being at a game, I'm sitting here talking to you two schlub.
Yeah, exactly.
And you're talking to us, so that's even worse.
Yeah.
Tyler, you got anything else?
No, go for it.
All right, Coach, last question here. And let's not say state championship game against Freeman. If you could go back and you could say, I get to redo this game, what game is it?
Wow. I think I might have an answer, but you go ahead, Coach.
I'm going to say the 1997 game against Meridian at our place.
Yeah.
Is that the one you're going with, Tyler?
No, but that one, I was up in the booth for that, doing the spotting for the play-by-play, and that was probably the most people I've ever seen at Bob Tisdale Field. That had to have been 3,000 maybe. I mean, it was so many people. Yeah,
there's like 3 plays that just still haunt me from that game that, you know, if I went back, you know, as I got better as a better coach, that we would have made some adjustments that wouldn't have happened there. But, you know, that'd be one of them that sticks out. What about you, Tyler?
Well, the first one that came to my mind was the last game you coached. And maybe the Eatonville game at Civic a few years ago. But man, that game against Meridian there was just so much. I mean, that game was just hyped big time. Both teams were undefeated and a lot of memories about that game. Yeah. I know exactly which plays you're talking about too. And it's tough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, Coach. Well, we are at, what are we at here? We're at 47 minutes, Tyler. I told you it would go long with Coach Lepp.
Yeah. Hey, it's great.
Our original idea was like 30 minutes. Well, let's just, you know what though? I got a feeling we're going to go long week 1. And here we are 40. I might have hit record a little early. So like 47 minutes, like right now.
Yeah, not bad.
But Coach, it's been a lot of fun. And thank you for your time. And, you know, hopefully we get to play some football and do some wrestling before I have to talk to you again. How about that?
That would be fine with me. I just like to say, you know, thank you guys very much for having me on. I want to thank both of you for what you do for athletics, you know, around the state, but obviously in our county with this podcast. It's tremendous. And Tyler, I got to mention this. The virtual football season is ridiculous. Listen to the kids talk about it, because we have our weight room open, and so some of the kids were in there and they're getting on for guys missing tackles or he missed a block. Heck, you give that sack up, and it's been amazing for the kids. I tell you, let them talk. But I got to tell you one thing. I was watching. I told my daughter about it. My youngest daughter still lives at home with us, and so I brought it on the screen. So I go to YouTube. I get it up on my big 70-inch screen TV at home, and my wife walks in and she goes, "What the hell? It's Tuesday. There shouldn't be football going on Tuesday." She doesn't understand. And she walks over. "What is this?" I said, "What do you think of LC's new stadium? That's pretty nice, isn't it?" So it's great. And she didn't want to, but she sat down and she started watching it, and it was great. I mean, so I think it was obvious the need. After the game, I will say this. I called Dan Kamick afterwards.
Oh no!
And he didn't know about it. And he goes, "You're joking." I said, "No, I'm not joking." I go, "Yeah, I go, I like your new stadium, and we were fortunate to get a W on the road." And he was just like, "Oh my God!" It was great. I mean, Dan was laughing. I goes, "So I guess we don't have to play in February." He goes, "If that's the score, I'm fine with it. I'll take it right now."
That's awesome, Coach.
But yeah, I'm just wanting I know I heard you guys talking about that on the podcast last week. But I want the kids think it's pretty cool too. I mean, they're just talking about it and having some fun with it. So again, one of those things you do that, you know, it takes a boatload of work, but it's for our kids, and it's awesome. And you guys, you know, are tremendous at doing that. So thank you.
Thanks, Coach.
Awesome. Well, again, Coach Ron Lepper, he's Tyler Anderson from Whatcom Preps. Check it out, whatcompreps.com. Upper left corner there, it says 2020 virtual season. That's what Coach Lepper's talking about right there. I'm Ryland Spencer from Cascadia Preps. Tyler Anderson, Whatcom Preps. Coach Ron Lepper, the winningest head coach in Mount Baker High School history, right there for you. We've been on way too long by this point, so we're going to wrap it up right there. We will have, hopefully, Coach Blake Van Dalen on next week. Real quick, Coach, 5 seconds about Coach Van Dalen. What do you got?
A great guy coming into a tough situation, and he's done a hell of a job.
Awesome. Well, there it is. WhatcomPreps.com, CascadiaPreps.com. We will talk to you next week.
Michael Rathjen, Levi Wig.